Hello, my lovely listeners. I'm Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns. Welcome to this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss.
Hello, lovely listeners. Dr. Mary here from Real Life Medicine, and I am joined by my lovely colleague, Dr. Lucy. How's it going, lovely one?
Well, I'm feeling lovely because you've called me lovely. How is it going? Look, if I wanted to whitewash everything, I'd go fine. Yeah, fine. Fine, no problem, fine. Yeah, great. In fact, I'd probably even go terrific, fabulous. But, I think like everybody's life at various times, I've got quite a bit of stress going on. And, while I don't need to share all the intricate details, I think it's important to acknowledge that not every day in the life of Dr. Lucy or Dr. Mary is a bed of roses.
I would agree with that. Wholeheartedly, in fact. Yes. I do also have my stressors, which are sometimes significant, other times less so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think today, we've got a great topic to talk about, the idea, because whenever people are looking at a health and weight loss journey, and particularly when people are focused on weight loss as their outcome, as soon as the numbers stop going down, the focus on the food. What am I eating wrong? And particularly that word wrong. What am I doing wrong? What am I eating wrong? What am I eating too much of?
Or I hear I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything right and I'm not losing weight. That's the flip side of what am I doing wrong?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So, the two things. What am I doing wrong? Or I'm doing everything right, therefore I should be losing weight. And so we go, So, today I think we're talking about the idea that, food is the foundation. Absolutely. You've got to get that right. However, there's more to it. And we spoke a bit about this last week with the nuances of weight loss. But this week, that pesky hormone cortisol that comes as a stress response is so incredibly important, and people just constantly underestimate its effect.
The stress, like constant high levels of stress in our lives, is extremely damaging to our health, to our well-being, and it quite literally impairs our ability to lose weight and to be metabolically well. And it sounds soft. It sounds airy-fairy. You just need to stress less. You just need to manage your stress. But it is a very true, very real, very physiological, physical problem that so many of us suffer with when we aren't able to cope with the stress in our lives, we aren't able to increase our resilience to the stress in our lives, and we aren't able to manage it. And I think that a lot of people just don't really know how, or they might feel completely overwhelmed at the idea of being able to manage your stress. But there's a lot of subtle, important sort of nuances here. And also, you can start really small. Small changes have the power to create enormous compounding beneficial results in your life. And if you just start, then things can really start to improve and improve quickly.
Absolutely. And not that my family ever listened to my podcast, but if they ever did, we often have a snigger about compound interest, which is a little just inside family joke, but it's about the idea that, compound interest is that you start small and it grows. And the concept's not rocket science, but we neglect to take this into account when we're talking about health. People understand it talking about wealth and money creation, but they don't then apply the same principles to health, which it's exactly the same.
People will be very dismissive of the idea of starting small. Like, I've got 30 kilos to lose. I've got 200 pounds, or I'm so incredibly stressed. Everything in my life is just falling apart. Me doing 3 minutes meditation a day isn't going to achieve anything. So why would I even bother? We could be afraid to do something small, and the chance that it won't help. But the really amazing thing about us humans and about our physiology and the physiology of our health and weight loss is that small changes really can make a big difference. And we're really complicated and we are really simple at the same time. The hormonal interplay between stress and weight gain and metabolic hormones, between our sex hormones and our thyroid hormones and our circadian hormones, and whether we feel tired, whether we're getting sleepy, whether we're getting enough sleep, whether we're moving our bodies, whether we're getting enough sunlight, it's mind-bogglingly complex. Every single system affects every other system in myriad ways. It is incredibly complicated. And absolutely everything affects absolutely everything else. Your sleep affects everything. Your stress affects everything. Your food affects everything. And that might sound like an overwhelming situation. It's all just so incredibly complex. But actually, it's really empowering because just tackling something and just starting with something like your stress, like your sleep. But stress is a really good one. It impacts everything else. So starting with a little bit of improving your resilience to stress, starting with a little bit of like meditation, because it's so, so powerful, it can then impact, as can ripple through every other aspect of your health. And that is how things start to compound quite quickly. Small changes are everything.
Yeah. And I reckon if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say, I've tried meditating, but I can't do it, I'd be a gazillionaire. Because the whole thing is nobody can do it at the start. Like, it's like saying I tried to learn French and I went to a French lesson and I couldn't understand it. Of course not. Or I started to learn the piano, but, look, really, all I could do was chopsticks. I couldn't do it. And it's like, no, it's actually skill. You need to understand how it works and why you're doing it and what the point of it is. And I think for a lot of people, they're the bits that are missing, and they just go in and hope that somehow they're going to sit on a chair or a cushion and their brain will be quiet and they'll feel better.
Yep. And if you can't get your brain to go completely switched off, like a little robot pushing a button, power down, think that you're not doing it correctly. But that's not what it's about at all. In fact, so much of the benefit of meditating is the process of trying to allow your thoughts to focus on a lovely calming anchor and then watching them fly off into the future, into the past, noticing when your thoughts fly off and then just gently bringing them back again, and then they will fly off again. And I like to think of it as this little dance that you play with your brain. So the idea is that you shouldn't be dancing, that you shouldn't be thinking, but that you play this little game of watching your thoughts, becoming aware, bringing them back. That is meditation. It's not being able to just propel yourself into some absolute state of blissful peace and nirvana where there's absolutely nothing going on in your mind except the sound of trickling water. That's not what you need.
No. And, like everything, we often talk about, I love the analogy that we'll use of walking a dog or a puppy in particular. So you've got a new puppy and your dog's running all over the place and you're constantly saying, heel or whatever word you use to bring the dog back so it's not just running amok. And over time, your dog will, go over and sniff something and then it just comes back, and it'll go and sniff something and then it just comes back. But it's not a haul. You're not having to haul it back. You're not having to yell at it to come back. And quite a lot of the time, it'll just stay with you. And that's basically what happens with meditation. Initially, your dog is going to run all over the place. But I think people think the only way they can meditate is if there's no bushes in the first place. The only way I can do it is if the room is deathly quiet, or the only way I can do it is if I've got nothing else going on in my life that's going to distract me. And that's basically like trying to walk, okay, you want to take your dog for a walk in the desert? Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Totally. I do my meditation outside in the morning with a baby and a dog. also probably keeping one ear out for is my other child going to wake up and request something. So yes, there doesn't need to be some perfect vacuum that you transport yourself into. You can literally fit a few minutes into your life wherever you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because if you ask most people, they'll go, I know I should be meditating. Like people know, they know now that the benefits are profound. And I mean, there's truckloads of research on it. It's research on its improvement, not just in your general well-being, so the current you will feel better, initially, but future you, it has anti-cancer benefits, cardiovascular benefits. And here's the interesting thing. When I was a junior doctor, one of our risk factors for cardiovascular disease was type A personality, which is actually, I think, being completely debunked anyway. But it's just the stressed person, the go, the person who's always got stuff on. Well, actually, that's most of us, honestly. It really is most of us.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, because this was like 40 years ago. Now, nowadays, everybody is like that. But that risk factor's dropped off. Instead, we just focus on smoking and cholesterol and diabetes, and nobody talks about stress as being a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. But yes, it definitely is.
Yes, indeed.
So I think, Maz, most people would agree that, our society, it's stressful. But I guess, what does that word even mean? And when we talk about the physiology, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so we're talking about our stress response. And we evolved a stress response as animals way back in our evolutionary history to help us survive life-threatening events. And this was extremely useful for our ancient ancestors on the plains of the savannah. So if a lion or a pride of lionesses came along to where you and all of your loved ones were happily collecting berries and you'd see the lions, this is a very stressful situation. And we have evolved a stress response to help us very quickly navigate that situation, to help us run away from the lions, to help us outsmart the lions, to help us hide from the lions, to help us fight off the lions. It's all about surviving the lion attack or equivalents. So when we perceive a threat, such as the lion, our amygdala in our brain, our emotional part of our brain is like, we are in danger. And then it sets off this cascade of these neurotransmitters, hormones, and neurological events throughout our body that get us primed to be able to survive that short-term situation. Our senses sharpen. We become more hypervigilant. We get increased blood flow to our muscles. We become tense. We become ready for action. Our blood pressure goes up. Our heart beats faster. We start breathing quicker. Our digestion really just stops and slows down because at that point in time, it's just not the priority. We have all these hormones released into our blood that makes it sort of thicker and clottier and makes us actually hold on to fluid. We get fluid retention, which is really useful if we get bitten by said lion. Then we're more likely to lose a lot of blood, more likely to be able to survive that. We get our liver starts releasing extra blood sugar and blood fats into our blood, so we've got fuel to use. All of these things are happening, which helps us survive that, increase our chances of surviving that particular situation.
So useful, so useful.
Absolutely. We probably wouldn't be here without it. And it's something we share with all mammals. We've all got this stress response. And it's great. It's really, really good if you're being chased by a lion. It's actually quite helpful even if you're sitting for an examination or something. That increased moment, that increased concentration can really be helpful. So there's good stress. That's like kind of a eustress. But the problem is that when we get long-term stress, and we humans, anything that we psychologically worry about triggers our stress response. So it's not lions and tigers and bears, oh my, it is life. It's work, it's deadlines, it's worrying about whether or not we're perfect parents, it's chronic sleep deprivation, it's traffic jams, it's interest rate rises, it's all of these things that we can't control, that if we aren't careful, can constantly keep us in this stress response. And long term, it's so bad for us. You know, that increased heart rate and blood pressure and fluid retention, it increases our risk of heart disease, as you're saying before. Increases our risk of strokes. It increases our risk of DVTs. That insulin resistance that you get, the stress response actually causes you to be insulin resistant in that moment. That literally contributes to our metabolic disease, which literally contributes to our weight gain and can make us put on weight more easily and have more trouble losing weight, as well as it's really bad psychologically. It's not a very nice place to live. And over time, that constant vigilance can also hamper our cognition and our clarity and our creativity, and also inflammation. It's a pro-inflammatory state, and that has a whole flow-on effect, myriad problems. So chronic stress is really, really, really bad for you. That's the doom and gloom.
Yeah. And it's interesting because last week's newsletter, or by the time this comes out, it'll be 2 weeks ago, the title was "The Stress is Killing Me." And people will often say that is a little throwaway line. How's life? Oh, it's great, but the stress is killing me. Well, it actually is. Like, newsflash, it's not a throwaway line. It truly is.
No, like that, the chronic stress causes all of these problems. Oh, the gut thing too, like chronic stress can cause significant gut issues and gut dysfunction long term. It is literally making us sicker and literally contributing to the things that kill us.
I know. Yes, and really at the end of the day, we want to, so it's that Goldilocks response, isn't it? We want some. If you don't have any stress response, then, you won't even notice when a car's coming to run you over and you'll just get killed. So you need a stress response, but like Goldilocks, too much, it will kill you.
Yeah, it will. And there's a phenomenon with humans that we only have one stress response. So it doesn't matter if you're stressed because you're being chased down the streets by a bear, or you are stressed because you've just had a really unpleasant conversation with your boss. It's the same thing physiologically is happening inside our bodies. It's the same.
Absolutely. And the thing is that as humans, we do have stressful lives. As people get, loved ones get sick, loved ones are in pain, we're sick, we're in pain, bills come. This is normal. And it's about not trying to control that, the external stressors. I mean, yes, there may be some things that you can do to change it, but it's not actually about that. That is not the cure to managing your stress.
No, it's about increasing your resilience to the stresses that we can't avoid and teaching your body to be in that relaxed state, in your rest and digest state. And we could do this. Zoologically, we know that, herds of zebras out on the African savannah, they've got stressors in their lives. They get hunted by lions. However, zebras still spend most of their time neurologically, physiologically, and hormonally in a relaxed state. They spend most of their time. And then, yes, the lion comes along and they're stressed and they do something about it, mostly run away / find the little foals, keep them safe. But then after that stressful event is over, they go back to being chilled out zebras. And so it's not the only way that they can be a chilled out zebra is if we went and eradicated all lions from the world. And I'm certainly not suggesting we do that. Absolutely not. But the zebras manage to spend most of their time being chilled out, despite the fact that they have lions in their life, that lions are an inescapable reality of being a zebra. We have got metaphorical lions that are an inescapable fact of being a human, and certainly some people have got more metaphorical lions than others. So it's not about making the lions go away. It is about taking some small steps to be a bit more like the zebra so that you can be relaxed much of the time.
Absolutely. And I think there's two ways to think about relaxation, because again, when you think about relaxation, people think about lying in a hammock in the Bahamas, or they'll think, I just watch Netflix to wind down. So there's that kind of, I guess what we might refer to as sort of a superficial relaxation, but there's actual physiological relaxation, which is then that thing that you've referred to as the rest and digest phase, or technically the parasympathetic, activating your parasympathetic nerves. And there's lots of tools that you can do for that. And again, one of the most powerful is meditation. It's not the only tool, but it is a powerful one.
And I love it because an investment of just a few minutes a day in meditation, even if you feel like you're not doing it properly, it still can be so powerful. So it's like a few minutes a day can completely change the trajectory of your health, especially since everything is connected to everything else. So you start working on your resilience to stress, then all the other aspects of your health can start to improve as well.
Absolutely. And, I think for a lot of people, again, we often talk about this. You go out too hard too soon, the fast and the furious, and they think I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do it a half an hour every day. And if you've never done it before, that's way too long, way too hard, not sustainable, not going to be useful, and you're just not going to do it. Like it's like I'm going to start running, and I'm going to start with a marathon every day. You just have to start with the small steps. And that's really the reason that we designed our meditation program with that in mind. It literally increases by 1 minute per day. And for a lot of people, their brain says, I don't have time. I just don't have time to meditate, Lucy. I'm too busy. I'm already busy. Don't give me another job. And it's like, well, actually, what about 1 minute? Could you find a minute? Of course, yes, of course, because you can't argue with a minute. If we can all do 1 minute. So we'll start with 1 minute, and then, the next day you'll go, well, 1 minute, that was pretty easy. I can probably do 2. And then the next day you'll get to 3. And then you'll get to 4. And because you've got a program to follow, you suddenly get into a bit of a routine. And you might decide that 10 minutes a day is enough for you, and you just continue on 10 a day. Or other people might want to do more. You're the boss of you, can do whatever you like. But the concept of just being able to start meditating without committing to practicing it and learning it is like wanting to, play the piano and start off with, Mozart. I don't know any Mozart songs, but whatever Mozart's is. Yeah. I always think of, I'm going to go out and I'm just going to learn how to play Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to start small.
A minute a day, increase by a minute, and minute by minute, a bit like compound interest, dollar by dollar, it all builds up. It's so easy.
Mm. So, Lucy, tell us a bit more about this meditation program. It's available for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're thinking, yep, all right, you know what, you've convinced me I do need to do something, it would be helpful to have another tool, then, we've got a 30-day mindfulness meditation program. There's lots of different types of meditation. This is mindfulness. It really uses the breath as the anchor, and you just download it. So you can purchase it on our website, or the wsrlmedicine.com/30-day meditation, or one word. It's quite a long URL. But again, we've also linked it in the show notes.
Stress. Everything is connected to everything else. And those little steps, beautiful people, just taking a little step can make massive changes, probably a lot quicker than you may realise.
Indeed. All right, gorgeous peeps, we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week.
See ya.
So, my lovely listeners, that ends this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And I'm Dr. Mary Barson. We're from Real Life Medicine. To contact us, please visit rlmedicine.com.
And until next time, thanks for listening.
The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualised medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.